I went on a 12 Exfil streak in Call of Duty's DMZ game mode, and that meant I was also able to obtain 10 active perks at the same time, which is pretty impressive because of course perks can grant you great benefits when playing this game, and having 10 of them active at once can be really beneficial. And so maybe there's some of you out there who have not been able to obtain a 10 plus Exfil streak within DMZ, but I would say that going on the Exfil streak like this high really isn't too difficult to actually do. And keep in mind, if you actually want to obtain one of these perks, then you have to actually complete a contract. If you're going into a DMZ match and you're just trying to complete faction missions and you're not actually going after any contracts, then the Exfil streak is not going to count. So keep that in mind. And there was a couple times throughout this streak I actually forgot to complete a contract, and so therefore I didn't get another perk. And so I guess my streak would technically be longer if they didn't include the contract needing to be completed each match. But either way, I was able to complete a contract for 12 times in a row, and so it granted me at least 10 perks, and you can only get up to 10 perks, by the way. So anything after 10 perks, you just don't get anything at all. There's no bonus or anything, calling card. Like, I don't think there's a challenge or anything for going on a 10 plus Exfil streak that I'm aware of, which I think is kind of ridiculous. I feel like you should be rewarded for doing something like that, but it is what it is, I suppose. And so if you're wondering how my 12 Exfil streak actually ended, it actually ended with my game kicking me out of the lobby for no reason. Normally this would happen if you're AFK and you haven't been moving at all for quite some time, but I wasn't AFK. I was clearly moving. I was definitely playing in the match, and it just booted me out for no reason, and I just don't know what else to say. It's pretty disappointing because when that happens, it does actually reset your streak and your inventory does get wiped, which is really unfortunate. And so there's nothing I could have done about that. And of course, this happened during season 1, so every single attempt going on this Exfil streak was actually on the Al Mazrah map. So I wasn't playing Ashika Island at all, and I actually didn't play any Building 21 either. That's mostly because I can never get access to Building 21 since the developers love to lock it away all the time for whatever reason. It's just so stupid. Like, does anybody even have access or time to even play Building 21 if it's just locked away all the time? It's just it's so dumb. I don't want to get into it, but I do want to get into how going on a 10 plus Exfil streak can be easy or difficult depending on the way you look at it. I want to start off by giving off some different points on how this Exfil streak is easy in some cases. The first reasoning I have is that you could spawn in an area where traveling far is not needed. And what I mean by this, you could spawn on the very start of a DMZ match where you are near contracts that you can complete, and so therefore there's not much distancing that needs to be traveled, and there is an Exfil location nearby, so meaning that you don't really need to get into a vehicle and have to travel across the map in order to actually exfil when you need to. And so I think that is part of the reason why this is easy to do, because you will get lucky in some games where you're just near an exfil location and there's a contract nearby that you can get out and done right away, then exfil right away, boom, done. You could probably get it done in less than 5 minutes, honestly. Sometimes that does happen. Also, another thing that happens, especially if you're playing on Al Mazrah, is that you're not really going to be coming across real players that often. Real player engagements definitely will happen when you play DMZ, but there's also matches where I've just never came across an actual player, and so it just made the experience a lot easier for me to do what I needed to do, and then I was able to get out freely and continue my streak. So that's another reason why I feel like going on a 10 plus Exfil streak isn't too difficult to do, especially when playing Al Mazrah. Now, Ashika Island is added to the game, which I will say can be a little bit difficult because my first time playing on Ashika Island, I was definitely going on a lot more gunfights with real enemies, and I think it's just because it's a smaller map, so everybody's going to be coming across each other a lot more frequently. So if you're playing on Ashika Island, you're definitely going to be having more player engagements, but Al Mazrah, I just feel like you just don't come across players that often unless you're really actively trying to find them yourself. Then you definitely will. But also, not paying attention to other challenges like faction missions is definitely a huge reason for how going on this streak is pretty pretty easy, and that's essentially what I did. There were matches where I would go after some of my faction mission challenges, but it wasn't really necessary because I wasn't really looking to complete those at the time. I just wanted to get 10 active perks and just say that I went on a 10 Exfil streak. Honestly, that's just kind of what I was trying to do. And so if you're not paying attention to other challenges like faction missions, extracting a weapon case, for example, or even going into the radiation zone to get the M13 blueprints, because those are very high risk challenges that you're doing. And so if you avoid some of those high risk challenges and you just focus on doing a contract and getting the hell out of there, then the Exfil streak isn't really going to be too difficult. Also, and this is very, very important when playing DMZ, is utilizing proxy chat and teaming up with enemy players, because this I have found to be incredibly helpful. I mean, incredibly helpful, because sometimes you will go up against squads that are just much better than you, and they do not care who you are, and they will take you out. So if you can come across another squad earlier and talk to them in-game through proxy chat, and if you guys can team up and just stick together, because there is an in-game feature where you can be on the same team, then you're going to be unstoppable. Like, having a 6-man squad against any other 3-man squad, like, doesn't really stand a chance against you. So I would utilize proxy chat as much as you guys possibly can. There was even an instance during my 12 Exfil streak, I don't know what streak this was, like maybe my 6th streak or something like that, where an enemy squad rolled up on us, and then me and the random teammates that I got paired up with were like saying, "Hey, we're trying to complete a contract. We're like friendly. Can you leave us alone?" And they're like really cool with it. It's like they're like, "Okay, we'll just go somewhere else," and they just left. And it was just that easy. So really utilize proxy chat, you guys. Of course, not every Call of Duty player is going to be talking back with you, and they're not going to be communicating with you at all, and they just want to kill you and take you out. So do be aware of that. But my time playing DMZ, there is a lot of friendly enemy players out there that will not attack you. So just really utilize proxy chat to your advantage when playing this mode. Now let's talk about why going on a 10 plus Exfil streak can be difficult. The first one is getting paired up with random teammates who suck at the game. And this happened to me in almost every single match, you guys. I swear to God, like almost every random that I got was by no means better than me. I always had to carry all of us, and it really does suck when that happens. And a good example I can actually give you guys, I think this was on my 8th or 9th Exfil streak. I can't quite remember. I think I was on my 8th Exfil streak when this happened, but we weren't going up against any real players throughout the match. We were kind of just, doing our thing, just going up against other bots and trying to complete a contract so I can get my perk, right? And eventually we're kind of like at this building, we're kind of just hanging out, and all of a sudden a real player squad ambushes us and they take out both of my teammates, and I eventually had to squad wipe them. By myself, I had to take out all 3 players while my 2 teammates were dead. And so it really sucked knowing that I had to take out an entire squad by myself, but it felt good. Don't get me wrong. It feels really good squad wiping somebody like by yourself, right? It feels really good doing that, especially within DMZ. And so I was able to continue my streak, but that's just a good example of like how teammates can be absolute ass when playing DMZ. And that's just something you're going to have to deal with. Sometimes I do queue up solo, and that isn't always a good thing. I definitely don't recommend queuing up solo. If you can get a friend, at least one friend to play with you, then I think you'll be set. But I think playing solo can be difficult because bots can take you out really fast, and if you don't have a teammate to res you, then that's it, you're done, right? And so having self-reses can be really important. And so bots definitely, you have to really take them seriously. They can really get you once in a while. And so if you're playing solo and you don't have any teammates, it might be really difficult for you to actually get through this. But sometimes I have to do that because I didn't feel like having random squad mates to just not know what they're doing, especially in that situation where they got killed by that enemy squad and I had to take them all out by myself. So it really does not help. Also, another thing that doesn't help is you can get really unlucky spawning at the start of a match, because people have been playing DMZ long enough to know where other players are going to spawn on the map, and they will just go in that direction right away and try and take you out as soon as possible. So there are squad hunters out there who will try and take out enemy squads as soon as they can at the start of the match. So that's just something you have to be aware of, and can definitely really suck when that does happen to you. Also, needing to travel in high traffic areas like strongholds, radiation zones, and weapon case zones, like if you cannot get around them and you have to go right through them, that can also make this experience really difficult, and not being able to go on a full 10 Exfil streak, because those are high traffic areas where not only are there plenty of bots that can like take you out, but other enemy squads as well that can third party and also take you out as well. And of course, the last reason why this can be hard to go on a 10 plus Exfil streak is your game crashing or kicking you out of the lobby like it did to me. So yeah, that's all the reasons why I think makes this experience kind of easy and difficult at the same time. There is a balance there, I believe, when it goes on an Exfil streak like this. I think for the most part, people can pull this off. You know, you start to see the behaviors of how the AI perform in game, and so it makes it a little easier to predict what AI is going to do. But real players are definitely the biggest threat you have in this game, so utilizing proxy chat and teaming up with them is the best strategy to go when going on an Exfil streak of more than 10 times. So anyway, those are my tips for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a like if you did, subscribe to the channel if you are brand new, and of course, do not forget to check that link in the description to my Twitch page, where I do go live occasionally playing some Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty's multiplayer. And with that being said, I shall catch you guys later.